Hello and welcome back. This is Greg Jones of Ear to the Ground Music, and I wanted to talk today a little bit about uh, everybody's favorite Chris Stapleton. Now, I know what you're thinking. Traveler came out in 2015. Why are we talking about this album today? Uh, there's a couple different reasons. One, because it's really good and it holds up. And another reason is because it's still charting. It's still at the top of the Billboard here in early 2017. And so we want to give it its due, a little bit of credit. We, of course, you may have read on our site, hosted a guest review by a friend of mine named Mike Mirdo, who reviewed the album. So I won't spend too much time rehashing what Mike had to say, but what I would like to do is comment on a few things about the album that I really like that we think are important to point out, and then mention some, read if you like, other bands that might be similarly interesting in terms of that classic country vibe that comes through with Stapleton. So, first of all, you might be wondering what is it that makes it sound classic country? There are a few different elements. One is actually in the sound of Stapleton's voice. He doesn't have the high pitched or the nasally kind of auto-tuned kind of pop sound that a lot of country music artists have today, but he has more of a gruff and gritty sound. You can tell that he spent some time going through hard things in life, and that comes through not only in his lyrics but in the sound and the delivery of his words. Even the arrangements are like what we might call old school Nashville. Now, if you're familiar with the history of country music, you know that country music has changed considerably almost by each decade through the 20th century, and Stapleton has grabbed onto what we might hear a little bit of that outlaw country sound and maybe the 1960s flavor coming through. So when we hear it, we say, "Wow, that's got some Waylon Jennings in it. That's got some a variety of influences that make it appealing to some of us that may not be as big of fans of commercial country music." So the title track, Traveler, gets us rolling along nicely. It's got a cool feeling, and it develops along that you actually feel like you're moving, you're traveling, and that's a cool element, just like the the way the strum pattern works. There are a couple songs on this album that are really have become characteristic of Stapleton. One is Tennessee Whiskey, this sort of heartbreaking, almost a lullaby style that really just tears at your heartstrings. Then Whiskey and You is a slow and it's deliberate, and I would even say the lyrics are delivered in a way that is prayer-like, and that gives it almost a spiritual sensitivity and meaning that you don't always hear from every artist, particularly within the country folk Americana world that we tend to inhabit. The last one that really stands out for me is Daddy Doesn't Pray Anymore. It has the all the trappings of a George Jones classic just 40 years later. And we can really come to appreciate Stapleton's ability to craft lyrics that not just tell a story, but really move us. So, obviously I skipped over a lot of tracks on that album, but those are some of the things that stood out to me, and one of the reasons why, or some of the reasons why, I think this album is going to have some real staying power in the folk Americana country world. If you like Chris Stapleton, I have three other recommendations for you. The first one is a guy by the name of Nate Currin. We covered Nate here on Ear to the Ground, and he's a very talented songwriter, has a similar kind of gritty gruffness to his, not just his vocals, but also his lyrical content. So I invite you to check out his 2016 release that I'll put a link to our review of him down below. I also highly recommend Brent Cobb. He's another Nashville country singer-songwriter type. And I ranked his album last year, and I actually said in my review his album Rainy Day, Shine On Rainy Day, pardon me. But I said about that album that it was the best country music album of 2016, and other critics might disagree, but I really love that. And he writes with a similar style as Stapleton, and just one of those plain spoken poet types, and it really comes through. And the last group is a little bit different, a little bit off the beaten path, maybe for some of you, but I would recommend River Kittens. Now, if you look on SoundCloud, they only have a handful of tracks out, and some of them have fewer than 200 plays right now. But River Kittens sound like old school women of country music. And I don't mean, a decade ago. I mean 50 years ago. I'm talking Patsy Cline, Kitty Wells, that generation of classic country vocals. And they have some really killer 3-part harmony that you just don't hear every day. So I really invite you to check them out as well. Thanks so much if you're still with us on this video. I would appreciate, obviously, if you enjoyed the video, likes, subscribes would be great. We're going to try to roll out videos at least once a week for the foreseeable future. And comment, please, down below if there are other albums you want us to cover, artists that you know that you think fit in with what Ear to the Ground is all about. Please make that happen, and leave a comment below. Thanks again for your time, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.